Good day and welcome back to the Student StarCraft AI tournament. This is probably the last broadcast before the tournament finals start, unless that is I manage to squeeze out another broadcast on Tuesday when the broadcast for the tournament finals will actually start on our server. And it's just the finishing touches, and I think that everyone took our advice for granted to upload their bots a couple of days before so we could do some troubleshooting and make sure everything was running satisfactorily. That means that, and I need to show you this, it has been absolutely outrageous. If you look at how many new bots we've had about 10. We've got an update for Goliath, we've got an invasion of the Carlos 3 University, we've got Hao Pan based on Iron, which is absolutely great. We've got IGJ bot, I don't know anything about that. McRave with an update, Pineapple Cactus showed you already, Hold Z with an update, and the Carlos 3 University, Laura Martin Gallardo, and this is a number, so I'm just going to let you read about that. UC3 Manolo bot, and Guillermo Agitapras, my Spanish, it must be something Spanish. It's really something, and ECG, I don't know if that's a name or supposed to be some kind of abbreviation for something. And of course we've got Cherry Pie, the Facebook bot, and it's got a lot of good people on board. Dan Gant is in there, TSC Moo, and Gabriel Senave as well. So that's really the star-studded team. Didn't make it into the AIIDE on the podium, but is really a force to be reckoned with. And Jövetar, or Jujuvat, my Spanish, I should ask my girlfriend, she can speak Spanish. Period. So there is a lot happening, and we've had so many updates. If you look at the ELO, Crazio still on top, and that will be really the challenge because Crazio is taking off in style, and with the voting system in place it means that Crazio has been fighting all the top bots all the time. McRave doing very well, having secured the second place and holding it for 2 or 3 weeks at the cost of Iron, of course. Microwave really impressing me at the moment. Killerbot still in there, and we are still hoping for an update of Killerbot, but as you can see, this was last year, right before the tournament deadline, and I can only hope. I haven't heard anything from Marion since, so that's unfortunate. Eric Hammer still doing well. TSC Moo, I don't know if TSC Moo will be playing because as he's involved with the Facebook team, and I don't know, he was for the AIIDE, and I don't know if he is still for this tournament, so he could be excluded because he can only upload one bot. And B-Reaver is really having a strong showing this this season versus the top Terrans. That may come in handy with the main tournament. And what else is enjoyable is that the Patreon is really rolling well. We've got 7 subscribers, thank you so much. And we have almost covered half of the tournament running costs, which unfortunately, Michael Chatichki has been funding this tournament out of his own pocket for a long time. Server and hosting had been partially done by the university, but it's, well, the live stream's playing 24/7, and we are hosting this tournament with all volunteers, so that would really help us out if more people would subscribe, or subscribe to us on Twitch, or just send us a little bit of money. You can always do that, but through Patreon and Twitch, the channel, you can support us financially, and we really appreciate that because it is well, it's a long effort, and this tournament has been playing since 2000, I don't even know, since 2011, with the live stream up for all that time. So if you like this, if you like the broadcast, and of course all the glorious action and the tournament finals, please support us on Patreon. The link is on our main page, and let's have it. The games, I mean, because I had a lot of recommendations. Putting my email address in the stream certainly helped with that, and someone recommended I cast Simon Prince versus Eric Hammer. Eric Hammer being a little bit aggressive with 6 Zerglings, and Simon Prince pretty safe with the bunker, but Eric Hammer immediately taking a lot of bases, and that is something you see a lot, because if you let a Zerg run away with the map, they can... Whoa, what's that? They can take the entire map, and then expand all over you. And Simon Prince now with the bunker, going for some kind of bio build. This should be a factory, but second base is up, a low drone count. That's something to worry about, because if you are going to take many bases, the third base is up, but only 9 workers, 8 workers now. Hello, that's really... And with a couple of rounds of drones, you'd be much more dangerous there. Simon Prince with 20 workers, 2 barracks pumping full time, and the academy started as well. Wasn't a factory after all, that's an eBay. So tier by Simon Prince is going for a dedicated bio build, looks like. And I wonder which bot Simon Prince will field for the 2017 finals, because he also made Protoss bot, which is very good with the early aggression. And Eric Hammer now with, losing a couple of Zerglings and still on 8 workers. That's quite something. Spent a lot of money on these 3 creep colonies, lots of tech, and that is 4 hatcheries with 10 drones, and I can only hope 11 drones now, so we get a large round of drones to make it work, because these 2 eBays are now flashing, which means the armor and the weapons upgrade will be there. And I think, yeah, there goes the academy as well. I think that's going to be the range. Let's have a small peek. We've got stim and range coming up. So with stim, range and +1/+1, this is going to be quite a nasty push to stop. And Eric Hammer has got 15 workers now, going for a lair, 17 workers, so that's all okay. Lots and lots of creep colonies here, drones mining there, and I think it will need to think about building an army, because 8.5 supply worth of Zerglings is never, ever, ever going to stop all this. I'd say you need lurkers or muters or any kind of heavier unit. Hydras might work as well with the eco advantage you've got. And now Simon Prince is moving out. You can see +1 is done, the weapons, nearly. Armor is nearly done as well. And Eric Hammer's going for Hydra speed, throwing away a lot of Zerglings. Now it's 3 supply worth of Zerglings versus a lot of Marines with medics, with stim and the range. And we've got a handful of Hydras now, but the Hydras are still there. And finally, these creep colonies start morphing. Tier with a stimmed run might do something good. But I think these Sunkens will finish in time. We've got 1, we've got 2. And the first Marines are being targeted. Some were quite low because the medics are in the rear. And with a handful of Hydras and these Sunkens, I hope that Eric Hammer might just hold. Otherwise, this game will be over pretty quick. Some Hydras coming from the back, 2 Zerglings as well, and these Zerglings are really going to help out with the DPS. And now all the Marines die, and the first push has been cut down at the cost of a sunken lot of units. But the worker count for Eric Hammer is now 28, also at the natural, and gas mining's pretty slow, isn't using any gas whatsoever. Eric Hammer's got 1,000 minerals stacked for some reason, and I really don't know what that's about. Tyr, going for the expansion, has got a large army of Marines again, and is going for more barracks. We've got 1 factory, isn't doing anything at the moment, just going to be for the starport, looks like, and I think we're going to see a science vessel. So a dedicated bio build, and only now is Eric Hammer spending some money. And what's it producing? It's producing a lot of Zerglings, and it's, well, basically has to, because it's got no gas at all. So that will probably be another base. But the gas mining, finally the extractor is finished at the natural, and finally building some armor units as well. These Hydras and Zerglings though, you can see with the science facility, these eBays will be able to start with +2, and without any upgrades for Zerg at all, except Hydra speed. That's not a fight you want to get into. Without any upgrades for Zerg, it's going to be like that, and you're just throwing it away. With upgraded Marines, with stim and medics, you really need some kind of a plan. And the plan seems to be expand ever more aggressively. Now going for the gas and some defense at the third as well. Drone count is okay, 32, that's acceptable, but you're really going to need an army, because Simon Prince will have 1, 2, 3, 4 barracks, 5 barracks, and the academy, and is not starting the +2. And we've got lurker aspect done, so that might help with that. Of course, we got 2 comms hats, and although there is a science facility, we see no science vessel yet. Simon Prince with the natural should have a nice income. 43 workers, hello, that's quite a lot. And still pumping SCVs for 2 bases. I don't know if that's the best decision. Could make a lot of more Marines, because the Zerg army is going to run absolutely wild. With the 1, 2, 3 bases, 2 more started, and that is going to be another base taken. and the first lurkers are hatching. So you are going to need quite a bit of scans. Oh, and that's not the right place more for lurker, I can tell you, but for an AI, of course, that's pretty damn difficult to determine where is a good place. And this egg is just going to catch a lot of fire and then die. Meanwhile, Simon Prince's army is about 50 versus 17.5 for... oh, that's pretty well covering the lurker with Zerglings. One lurker more in the rear, but it's unburrowed, and it can let off one shot, but that's really unfortunate, and lurker micro is so hard to do. If you do it well, it's an absolute pain for the enemy, but until you do it well, it's an absolute pain for yourself, and that can be hard to deal with. Now, Eric Hammer, if it survives this push, and there really ought to be a couple of lurkers, perhaps on the high ground, perhaps with the Sunkens, because this Marine army is going to tear through these Sunkens. Oh, 2 lurkers come. Oh, go back! Oh, God! 2 lurkers on the high ground might really make all the difference, but there is a bunch of links coming in from the rear. The Marines are forced to wade into the sunken field, and there is some supporting stuff there as well. So Eric Hammer cutting down this Marine medic force as well, and now Simon Prince got the science vessel, which is good, especially versus the lurkers. But these lurkers are going to do damage with their spines regardless, because you need tanks or mines to kill them more effectively. And Simon Prince is committed to this bio build. The factory hasn't produced a single unit all game, and Simon Prince, well, the main has got some juice left in it, but Eric Hammer is all over this, and this is going to get absolutely wild. Eric Hammer at 42 workers, 26.5 army supply, and it's keeping its money down so very well. Have we got any upgrades? Yep, we've got Overlord speed coming up and Hyra range. Otherwise, it's pretty much nothing. And a handful of lurkers with supporting units now camping the natural, making sure Simon Prince's tier can't get out. And now going for a small push, but now with 2 science vessels. And I think I saw that finish earlier. So although Eric Hammer has got things locked down and could really do with a Defiler, 1-2 swarms and Simon Prince would be history. But then again, oh, stacked lurkers. Hello, these are 2 lurkers. Oh no, just 1. Oh, that last shot really did it. That was cute. Okay, so these Marines are stimming. The medics are far in the back. And if you are taking double lurker shots at the time, it's really bad for the Marines' health, and you can see that reflected in the army size of tier. These lurkers are pretty bad. They're burrowing while they should be firing, and the supporting units are retreating while they should cover the lurkers. 3rd base starters for Prince. I think that's good, but the reinforcement for Eric Hammer are now cleaning it up. And Simon Prince's army is really... If you were supporting this push or dropping a couple of Marines medics on an expansion, I don't know, it would be much better. But now 73 versus 48 workers. The main for Simon Prince is thinning out rapidly, and we'll need to... Oh, is that a lurker drop? That's not a lurker drop, just a scout. A little bit of a skirmish going on here. We've got a queen breakdancing for its life. Simon Prince got a large army. And every time you run into lurkers like this and they unburrow, oh, that's pretty bad. But what can you have? The Queen finds the 3rd. Worker transfer with the army move out is sort of okay. And you can see tier with double the army supply, and all the units are retreating to somewhere. That's something that's very detrimental. But Eric Hammer starting a new base at 72 workers, and Simon Prince is coming here to have a look, but doesn't really like what it's seeing. And even though these Zerg units are fighting horribly, every once in a while the lurker will land a good shot with the stim, with the supporting units. A couple of Marines will die, and this push will never be able to break the remnant of the sunken defense. Then more lurkers come up, and the damage potential for Zerg will just be too big. We've got 1 science vessel, and you can see this Terran force thinning out slowly but steadily. And it's only a handful of Marines, 3 lurkers firing all the time, and you can see 1 more Marine dying, and that last lurker is going to get killed. 3rd operational, that's good. Eric Hammer might do something about that. But Eric Hammer is defending the main base now, and there is nothing happening in the main base, so I really don't know what's up with that, but could be something. And now all the Marines are dead, so these medics are in for a hard time, and Simon Prince is mulling about the main base for... Oh, because there is an Overlord there, I presume. And now Eric Hammer has got 43 army supply. before they reach this choke point again is going to be way out of control, and Simon Prince will have to fight hard for its life to stay in this game much longer. We see a Defiler mount, we see an Ultra Cavern, we see no Ultras or Defilers yet, and oh, we see a Defiler, that's pretty good. I didn't know Eric Hammond did Defilers, and let's see what it's going to do. Cast a Swarm, that's pretty good, and might do a little nice Plague. Plague is started, but isn't finished yet, and you can see how many hits it takes to kill a Hydra and the Swarm. Pro tip, it doesn't work. The bad thing is that the Lurker, oh, the Lurker's now attacked from the rear, is taking some shots as well, but the Lurker ideally would be here and then be able to tear down so many Marines. This one will die, and you can see it's still 73 army supply. The big problem is that Eric Hammer at this point, oh, this base has not yet been taken. It's 75 workers versus only the 50-ish of Prince, and now we've got Ultras and Defiler, so that is going to be a big problem for Tyr. And I really don't know what kind of a party is happening in the main base of Eric Hammers. If this force had been out there with the fight, it might have been over a long time ago. And the Hydras, the Ultra reaches the Swarm, and that's good because the Ultra is nearly unkillable. Has it got any upgrades? Yep, it's got speed, armor is finishing up, and with the Swarm, this is a rout. And you can see that Simon Prince has got 90 army supply now, but it is going to be a long and bloody fight. That's the Plague on the Science Vessels, and if the Science Vessel dies, the Lurkers will have free range, and this is going to be a drop in army supply. It was at 90 earlier, and the Zerglings and the Ultra are in there, and 2 Defilers at the back consuming half the reinforcements. And if there is going to be a Plague on this group here, it might well be over. Might do with a Swarm. I don't know what's keeping the Swarm. There is energy. There is one more Swarm, and the medics are sort of healing everything that's not in there. Oh, and that's the nice Plague. So army supply for Tyr is dropping, the natural is mining out, and Eric Hammer's got everything well under control. And you can also see the army supply difference is now about 20, but that's going to be way different in a couple of minutes, because the Ultras, even with Plague, they just do not care. There is no Swarm for reasons, perhaps they've been irradiated, but it's now 50 versus 40, and the Ultra is still plowing in there. Even the Hydras are trying to make something work. Should nab the Science Vessel, because Hydras versus Stimp Marines with upgrades. Which upgrades have we got now? We've got the 3-3, we've got the range, we've got our radiate, but this is just going to be a huge economic problem for Eric Hammer. Eric Hammer now slamming the third. There is, oh, these, whoa, that were a lot of consumes. Tyr evacuating the SUVs, I think that's a good decision, because with one bunker you can't really hold this. Should lift the command center as there are no anti-air units, and the SUV train arriving here. It's now 60 versus 40 still, but with only the natural there, and of course this Ultra is going to get killed, no question about that. Lots of Science Vessels, that's going to be a benefit, but this base has been rendered to rubbish. There is a refinery still on the comm set, untouched, that's pretty cute. And you can always detect an AI, because it will not just, if it deems these buildings not important, it will not attack them, and it will not have a unit on standby just idling in the vicinity of a building which is not important to have a couple of shots at it. It doesn't happen. So this is the last base, and it's 70 versus 40, so these Marines in the choke are doing pretty well. The Defilers are consuming everything. The sad fact of the matter is that Eric Hammer has got triple the economy at this point. Let's have a look at that. You can see the eco of Tyr, and this is the economy of Eric Hammer. So that's really something. And the swarms are all in the wrong place. That's unfortunate, because it should be swarming the enemy. Oh, and that is, look at that, 2 plagues, and this game is over. Here come the Ultras, and one more swarm. One more swarm would be nice, but Ultras versus Plague Marines, that's over. And you can see the supply equalize. And look how many consumes are going off. The map is plagued in Plague and swarms. Swarm casting should be an Olympic discipline in AI combat, but as you can see, it's over. There are so many Ultras, and the army count has all about equalized. and the natural is out. Simon Prince tier is out of money. Here comes the hammer. Eric Hammer now at 150, and Simon Prince is down in army supply. And look at how many swarms are being cast or consumes. That is a whirlwind of consumes. And now everything is plagued, everything is swarmed, and it's going to be 160. It's 20 versus 60, and Eric Hammer doing this in style in the mid game, not as decisive, but now it's just one big train of units, swarm and plague, and Simon Prince's tier is losing its last mining base. There are ultras everywhere, and you can't see the minimap, it's just swarming with stuff. You can see the production tab, ultras, zerglings, overlords, all over the place. An infested Terran, oh hello, that's interesting. Let's wait if something will come off that. Army-wise, it's now 7 Marines versus 9 ultras and a lot. And where is the infested Terran? The infested Terran is coming up, so I will try and show you that. It will be here somewhere. Yeah, there it is. And let's keep an eye on it. Let's see if we can actually see it. It's hard because there are so many stacked swarms. The ultras are now blocking the ramp, but I think I can still make out the infested Terran. And there they come. The Hydras, the ultras. And where is the infested Terran? Yeah, it's there, I think, still. What's it going to do? Is it going to attack a unit or just splash its guts on a building? Yep, there it goes. A little bit friendly fire, but that won't hurt anyone. So, Eric Hammer at this point is maxed. Simon Prince leaves the game. That's the GG. And that was the first game of the night. Really great game. Next game, Øyvind Johansen, the random bot, will be playing as Protoss this time. Of course, for random bots, which... oh dear, what have we here? We've got a... That's a pretty... Oh dear, that's a pylon and that's a proxy in the enemy's face, so that's pretty BM. The probes are trying to kill the pylon. I don't know if they're going to succeed. There are more SCVs coming up, perhaps going to build another pylon, and that may be the death knell for Aya, because if you are going for an expansion, you can see now with the Zealot, which isn't fighting for reasons, and now there are 2 gateways for Aya as well. And Øyvind Johansen has got the worker lead. Only 6 workers left for Aya. And although these, oh yeah, so much is being lost. And the big problem is that there is a zealot for Aya, but there is no other unit. There is no mining possible. And this pretty BM in your face proxy gate is winning game for Øyvind Johansen. So that is the GG. Øyvind Johansen, beautiful game. Thank you very much. Now we've got Steamhammer versus Purple Wave, and Purple Wave will not be participating because its author Dan Gant is working for Facebook for the Cherry Pie bot, which is a big pity because I really think Dan Gant is very talented, and his bot was one of the outsiders for the 2017 title. What we have got here is a proxy just outside the base for reasons, but it will be scouted for because it's in the straight path towards the enemy. And here come the Zerglings. I wonder if they're going for the main base or trying to stop this proxy. And they are going for the main base, and that's pretty hilarious because there is nothing in the main base and all the probes are going to die. Oh no, not all the probes. A couple of zealots come off, but the probe count has been severely weakened. Only 7 versus 9 workers for Zerg. And Zerg doing pretty well. Has spotted these buildings, is not attacking them for reasons. And that is one of the reasons that AI struggle so much, because they can't really understand that if you've got an army here and buildings here which are unprotected, you can take them out at relatively low cost. Now Steamhammer is going for a 9-worker build somehow, 2 Sunkens in the main. It's really something, and the Zerglings are moving in and out. Handful of Zealots, and Purple Wave has been given the time to stabilize. These buildings could have been torn to pieces, or the Zerg could have done more with the Zerglings. Now 12 workers, so Steamhammer not the most macro heavy bot, just going for a lot of units but not really many workers, and scouting the map, which I like. Oh, and there we go, the death train coming in, but a handful of Zealots should be okay. And what Protoss should do more versus Zerg is get that +1 weapons upgrade, because then they can kill Zerglings in 2 hits instead of 3, and that's a major advantage, which is almost never used, and that's unfortunate. So these Zerglings are running in, running out. We've got Lurkers coming up. This is not the right place to morph a Lurker. That's something that bots should take into account. We've got 2 Lurkers now, 3 Lurkers, but they are unburrowing too much, and then they die. You can see the Protoss units run out. The Lurker pops up and dies before it can burrow again. So that's unfortunate. Should be leapfrogging them. Burrow 1, the other one right over the top. And this is a good position for 2 Lurkers because the Protoss units can't really run too much. And if they are in range of... Oh, we've got an Observer. So that's pretty equally matched. Third base being finished for Zerg already. And Protoss has got the larger army. You see that a lot. Zerg just refusing to maintain a large standing army. Has got more workers now, 32. Got a bit of suspiciously placed Sunkens and a little bit of eco, a little bit of tech. And going for a 4th base already, which has been spotted by 2 observers at the same time, so you'll have double vision. Now Protoss moving out with a 50 army, the 50 supply army, and Zerg really hasn't got anything to stop that. A couple of Lurkers, but they are not really there, and trying to hit that 4th base. But the 4th base is pretty well protected. Now the Zerg is all over this, and by all over this I mean all in between and under and whatever. It's really a bit of a mess, but Protoss has got the... Oh, that was a nice shot on a couple of workers. Protoss has got this huge army going now, taking a 3rd base, another base being taken by Steamhammer, but Steamhammer has got this low-ish drone count, and the army is all cut up in the middle of the map, losing stuff left and right for no good reason, and that's really unfortunate because you can see it's 50 versus 10 army supply, and the Protoss army kept together with observers is going to make mincemeat of any Zerg unit in smaller groups than about 20 or 30 at this point. So this base is cut down, and the 3rd is up for Purple Wave. 4th base being started, and really could do with a couple of cannons because any handful of Zerglings that is going to recover. And again, unburrow with low health and die. So 44 versus, 10, 12, 13 now. Still very low handful of cannons here, and now tearing into the natural. And at this point I really doubt that a muta switch is going to help you a lot, because these mutas are just so weak, and if the Zergling support is weak as well. Oh, and this also is not a good place, but the Dragoons don't think it's much of a problem that there's going to be a Guardian out soon, so that's unfortunate. And this is a nice defensive position, and I like Purple Wave for that. So we've got a Guardian, 2 Scourge, and what do you do with that? Well, you venture out in the middle of the map, and it doesn't really matter. That's 300 minerals and gas just sitting out there. Can't do anything by themselves. And the Zerg army is absolutely puny. It is 3.5 army supply. Why in the hell would you do that? But you never know. So 3 army supply, losing another base. Just build something. Build a round of Zerg and do something. Good heavens. Now it's 16 army supply, but it's all in mutas, and mutas are weak. The Zerg is just running in there, and that is what you get for not having a large army. And Protoss, of course, capitalizes on that. It's very easy just taking the bases, building tech, and having this large army in the middle of the map. Oh, we've got 1 Ultra. So you've got Ultra tech. If you've got 1 Ultra, they can't really do anything. You've got a Great Aspire, but I've only seen 1 Guardian, and 1 Guardian doesn't do anything. Zerglings are now mopping this up for reasons, and that's really good because you've still got 2,000 minerals in the bank. You could build a lot of Zerglings, just make a large round of Zerglings and do stuff with that. For some reason, oh, that's nice. This Dark Templar is really getting stuff done on his own. But with the cannons and the army, and then the fighting by Steamhammer becomes too fragmented, and it will peter out as well. A couple of goons get split off and cut down. Or this lives, but it won't be long. Yeah, there you go. Ultra on your tail and his friends. So that's unfortunate. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. And the High Templar without any support. And that's really... Oh, this is pretty good. I think those are going to be cannons. Or shield batteries? I don't know. Are they cannons? Let's see. Zerg is in there, tearing down the Nexus. That's good. And these are cannons. So that's pretty well done. I didn't know that the Purple Wave could do that. That's pretty cute. And yeah. Okay, well this isn't working. And there we go. Lots of drones lost. You can see the army supply for Purple Wave is now 15, although it's got a lot of money in the bank. Is it producing anything? Yes. Probes and a Nexus, but no army, and it's got a huge amount of money. Same can be said for Steamhammer. Still got a lot of oh wow, what's that? Yeah, that's a round of drones. Okay, that's nice, but you can still see these bots are a little bit rough. Now Zerg hitting on the natural with a couple of ultras with links for DPS, and I like that because the ultras will tank a couple of cannon shots. That's not a problem. The DPS in these 5, 6, or 10 to start out with a handful of lings is insane with the adrenal upgrades. And what weapon upgrades have we got? We've got +3/+3 with adrenal and speed. So Purple Wave in a huge quantity. We've got the cannon bank here, but Purple Wave is out of control, and Steamhammer's out of control. Purple Wave isn't making units anymore, and that's weird. Building gateways, and you've already got gateways, but you just need stuff at this point. Oh, and this is the point where one Guardian can actually make a difference. Lots of damage and nothing to contest it, because nothing's been oh, we've got a Corsair coming up, but the army supply is 3 against 50, and that's nonsense. So Steamhammer taking this game in style, and this was my last recommended game. So I can finally start on the new bots, because we've got about 7 or 8, I think. And yeah, I really should be showing stuff. Oh, we've got 2 Guardians, we've got more Guardians, and only 1 Corsair, so that's not really working at this point. And Purple Wave is... wow, that's a lot of Zerglings. And only now Steamhammer's building large rounds of lings. You can see them coming up all at once. And that's 57 links, 17 ultras, a handful of guardians, 3 hydras in case there is anything in the air worth attacking. And now, oh, we've got a forge left. Main base in tatters. The assimilators are left standing as well. I'm going to call the GG and hop into the next game. Because the next game will have to be played. And it's about the new bots. And the new bot, one of the new bots is One Trick Pony. The other one is Force Bot. Force Bot is a master's thesis from the University of Delft. And it's with the Gold Project. And I've still got an article to write about the Gold Project. Oh, I feel so guilty about that. Should really be doing that this soon. Doing it at all. But One Trick Pony is by Im42, and Im42 has been one of the driving forces with TSU, of course, of this OpenBW project, of which I am using the... oh, well, that's not working, is it? And... nice proxy, but no cigar. So that's the game One Trick Pony. The One Trick failed. And oh well, this is one of the other recommended games. It's Nightcat Terran versus Steamhammer. Nightcat, of course, is the bot for big game hunters. Oh, and that's a little bit fast. We've got a small Zergling incursion. We've got the bunker up. We've got 2 barracks, so that's should be okay for the near future. That's not very wise, and you can see why. At the other end, Steamhammer is going for the second base and just harassing pretty well with these Zerglings, killing a handful of SCVs, killing a handful of Marines. Could be a little bit more committed, but more lings coming up, and now going to do more damage. The bunker is slightly out of range, so that's difficult to know when to attack something, while keeping in mind that there is a suppressing fire further back in on the field. But the Zergling harass has been excellent up till now, and it will probably remain so, although we've got a lot of workers coming up now. 16 versus 22, and I think if there is going to be a vulture, there are 2 barracks, 1 bunker, have been for some time, with a medic or with a vulture. That's just going to be a large problem. But the medics are out there and are getting killed. They are not getting killed, they are now getting killed. And medics with Marines with Stim is going to be a problem, which the Zerglings by themselves cannot master. By this time, Steamhammer's got 18 workers, and Nightcat has sort of helped this now with 3 workers on top of the run, and you can see how much damage they put out with that stim and being healed a little bit by the medics. And we've got a vulture or a tank or something coming up. We've got a tank, so I think that Nightcat for this time is holding its own pretty well versus one of the best Zergs we've got. And now, oh, we've got the comsat of course, but 2 tanks might help versus the lurkers. Taking the natural now, and I think that, yeah, that's not going to work. Scan right on top, lots of damage being done, only 1 medic, lots of forces on the high ground, nothing much on the low ground, so that might prove to be a bit of a problem, and a 3rd base being taken by Steamhammer. Steamhammer going again with the single lurker, with pretty bad burrow micro. Oh, now 2, that's pretty good, but the cavalry comes in and shuts it down tight. Good. So, 3, 4th base being started, 3rd base is operational. Steamhammer has got economic potential, but you can see it's got a lot of drones, and it's got a lot of larvae, and no army. 4. That's really, oh, it's got 10 army supply now, but it's throwing lurkers 1 at 2 at a time. Tanks on the high ground, units here, and there is going to be a Terran push at about 50, I think, and that's going to be hard to stop with this ragtag band of 17 Zerg army supply. And although you've got all the bases and you are producing Zerglings, which are not bad by themselves, oh, killing off all the medics before the battle starts, that's good. And now the Zerglings, you can see them evaporating, that's just so... And we've got a lot of Zerglings, but there is only 1 medic, and the tanks are exposed. But these Marines have got all the damage potential in the world, and Steamhammer is doing the same as Hammer earlier, with a lot of bases and just trying to get stuff together. But this army is just not all there, and these Zerglings are letting themselves get pounded a little bit. I think they must have a penchant for that. Oh, this base has not yet been taken by Steamhammer. And these Zerglings really shouldn't wade in and out of tank fire all that much. That is not good for you. Steamhammer frantically trying to get an army together, taking down the natural, which is completely unprotected, but with the Marines in the high ground, you can do this all day. The Lings are just killing one or two at a time. This lurker, though, is really making a mess of it. Oh, look at that, 2 lurkers, and the entire Terran army is cut to pieces. When Zerg gets high ground vision, this tank is going to be up for it, and now we've got free-range lurkers in the Terran base. The comsat is empty, and that's the only base for Terran, so that's really unfortunate. This base has somehow been saved, and now you can see how many Zerglings you can put out with the entire map. It's 46 army supply, and the Zerglings are all over this, backed up by the 7th fleet of lurkers, and wow, that's really, really ugly. Steamhammer now producing in waves. You can see the supply increasing, the money count increasing little by little, and then all at once it will spend about 500, and oh, look at how much damage these Marines can do. But now it's going to be over, because there are lurkers, and quite many of them, and this infantry just cannot hold. So that's the GG, and let's hop into the next game, because you've got another Nightcat game. It's this time it's versus Purple Wave, and I'm really going to miss Purple Wave in this tournament. It's such a shame that big companies like Facebook are able to, well, to more or less purchase the cooperation of some of the best authors, and the best authors can't really show their own work. That's the balance of power in AI spending at the moment. Google, Facebook, Alibaba have got so many scientists on the payroll that for smaller universities it's just very hard to get by. They can't really pay for the infrastructure because they are mostly government funded, and Facebook and Google have got all this advertising revenue, got so much money. It's really sort of unfair, and you can see now Purple Wave by Dan Gant. It's just a one-man project, but it's so very beautiful. It becomes such a reliable Protoss, and I really would have liked to see it participate on its own merit. But of course, if you can make money from AI, and I can imagine Facebook paying quite well if you are in the AI business, because that's their business as well, with all the algorithms they got. And yeah, I can only congratulate Dan with having a job there, because it must be awesome to be able to do this kind of stuff for your job. That would be absolutely awesome. I've got I won't tell you what job I've got because I'm a little bit ashamed of it. It's not really as exciting as anything in AI, and anything which even remotely resembles. Oh, that's a bit of a brave move. Nothing that resembles anything as cool as working on this AI business full time, and I really would have liked that, if only to have more time to make videos and write stuff for this beautiful tournament. Okay, enough about my miserable life. We see a lot of high Templars coming up, and no third base yet for Purple Wave, and that's the difference with McRave is, for example, that McRave will immediately press M for macro, take 3-4 more bases as it's got the enemy contained, and then just flood the map with units left and right. We'll see what is going to happen here. Oh no, that's just for another building. But the army count of Purple Wave is pretty good, and for Nightcat as well, and I really can only commend that, because you see so many bots having at one time or other in the game a very, very puny army. And ooh, Purple Wave could have nabbed these tanks at virtually no cost because they were so exposed. But still, it's 70 versus 48, 38 army supply. Third base being started now by Nightcat. Still nothing from Purple Wave, and I think that's very late. Now pushing at the main, the natural choke through. No, nothing happening, and the goons are really doing a lot of damage because these Marines are, well, unhappy, I should say, that they are so exposed with only 5 or 6 of them, and now with a couple of medics and tanks in the rear. That's a much better fighting position. The thin brown line with the suppressing fire from the large guns in the rear with the gear, and then you can see that Nightcat really can't pack a punch, because although it's got a smaller army, it's got an efficient army, a good combination, and is fighting well, and has now got the third up. So that's the worker transfer. These zealots could depopulate this entire base pretty quickly. The High Templar, are they still there? Where are they? And they are choke full of energy. Have you got the storm upgrade? We've got the storm upgrade. Oh, and that must have been... oh, just missed that. These medics are soon going to get stormed, I suppose. Here we go. Are you going to do it? Yes. Oh, unfortunately the observer kicks it as well, but the medics have been neutralized. That's nice to see. And will we see a third finally? That's pretty late from Purple Wave. Main is getting pretty low, and if you lose this contain, if you allow the oh, that's a lot of storms, and Marines don't really like that. These Templar are being very well protected, and other bots regularly lose them 1 or 2 in the middle of the map without protection. And now Nightcat is in a bit of a hard spot because there is a lot of bio, so it might probably hold this. But the army discrepancy is really, really big. The SCVs come off the line to repair the high ground bunker. That's pretty good. And the High Templars are way back in the rear, and versus this kind of bio compositions. Oh, here they come, but although the bio units are dead anyway. Oh, and a blanket of storm. Could be spread a little bit better. But the army supply, Nightcat is struggling, even with all these barracks, to get any kind of decent composition together. We've got a tank. It should siege in range of the enemy, preferably. Third operational. 2 bases now taken by Purple Wave, and Nightcat is losing the natural. Has lost the natural. 2 tanks on the high ground, little bit of bio, and as a bot you should just keep 2, 3, 4 tanks here on the high ground, which would make it impregnable to straight up gateway unit attacks here. Army wise, Nightcat is okay. It's got 3 bases, but it's just throwing away so much stuff, and it can only pray that these High Templars are not getting any more exposure to combat, because they can be so deadly versus these bio compositions. That's just out of this world. And now moving out with a handful of units is not really going to work. These tanks are going to be cut down, these bio units, even without the High Templars in the fight, the bio units are suffering horribly. Main is sort of mined out now by Terran, and you can see that Nightcat is actually doing pretty well on the army supply. It's got 40, but every once in a while it will lose tanks like this, and then all the Dragoons move back and die on the bridges for reasons. And now the tanks die, so lots of units lost without perfect positioning. And that is something which which is pretty normal for these mid-tier AIs. They're just not as careful as the big ones and meticulous, so that's good. Natural main mined out here. Natural still got some juice left in it. And Nightcat still got 50 army supply, so you can do quite a bit with that. And you can see if this bio ball gets going, it will get stormed, and that's 20 bio supply gone. And these High Templars are really making it work for Purple Wave. Purple Wave now with 2 bases up. It's 2 versus 2 bases. The natural, though, for Nightcat will be out of minerals soon. And the goons are ever so hungry for more. Oh, this Comsat just got attacked by something. I missed that. And now the Protoss army is in a natural, and Nightcat is struggling to make things work. It's only got 1 income left, 1 base income, and there is a large army of Dragoons out there. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. And the High Templar are keeping their distance a little bit too much. They could kill a lot and make it easier for the... Oh, that is really SCV genocide. These storms by Purple Wave. Purple Wave so meticulous with its Dark Templar, keeping them safe, keeping them in the rear. But once they get to bring their storms to bear, they are forced to be reckoned with and are forced to die for, or to die at, I don't know. So, Nightcat, despite a valiant fight, is succumbing to Purple Wave. No shame there. Good game, Purple Wave. And we had an update by Goliath, which is always interesting. And we got a new bot, and it is UC3 Manolo bot. And that's one of the bots from the, the university. Oh god, I keep forgetting that. From the University of Carlos III, I believe. Yeah, Universidad Carlos uno, dos, tres. And that's in Madrid. And that's about all I know. So let's see what it's going to do. It states on its bot description page, a lot of these bots state that they are using influence maps. So that should be interesting to see. Martin Royakas, author of VitaBot, pioneered with that. And yeah, well, without knowing anything about the science underlying these AIs, let's see what they're going to do. You see a handful of Marines being streamed out. You can do that, but Goliath, of course, is one of the older, it's older than the Manolo bot, and we'll just shut this down with 4 Marines there and 5 there, and it's sort of gatekeeping at this point. I don't know what it is, just making a choke with the Marines. And that's pretty interesting as well. The Marines are now moving out. Natural being taken by Manolo bot. Manolo bot has got a decent army supply. It's got some fire bats, got an academy, but the units are sort of absent without leave, or I wouldn't have... Oh, now they're coming. And the fire bats versus the Marines are doing pretty well, but the Marines are in small numbers. Goliath beating it back though, all the reinforcements tail it back home. And will Manolo bot be able to finish this command center? You need to be able to do that to recognize that there is a building unfinished. I think it could be placed 1 slot more towards the top. And all these units, a lot of fire bats, wow. Might have 1 more medic and less fire bats. It's hard to... Or you need to write something to recommence construction of an abandoned building. And now the fire bats are coming in, but I think that although we are going to see a couple of flames, all in all they're going to suffer horribly. And Goliath going for the natural now for a couple of mech units as well. I don't think with this level of play it's going to make a strong showing in the tournament, but as it's being worked on, I just can only appreciate that. Now the Marines are coming in, and the units of Manolo bot are just sitting back there chilling out. With a bit of work to be done. Of course, I don't know what the scientific interest is, but Work to be done. Okay, so unless, and I've always thought that Marian Diveka from Slovakia, or the Czech Republic, from Slovakia, was a lady, because in the Netherlands Marian is a lady's name, and in Slovakia it isn't. It looks like we've got another lady, but not really long for this world. Falling prey to a 4-pool, and of course I could let me get another game for... Oh, we've only got one game. So this was the only game, and although it's a little bit unfair to make it versus Chris Coke, the winner of the AWIDE tournament, as we have no other bot yet, it got deactivated because it slowed down or crashed the server. So some work done. I hope it can be done before the tournament starts. It would be really unfortunate if it didn't. And nothing rests for me to start with the next game with another bot. It's IGJBot, and I really don't know anything about that. It's not not by a student, but it is mining quite satisfactorily, making a pool, making an extractor. And of course we've got Garmbot here. Garmbot will cover the map in expansions and produce a lot of units if given the chance. 0 army supply, so that's something. And IGJ is starting with a handful of Zerglings, and they are going straight for the main, ignoring the natural, going for the gas, going for the workers, and Garmbot still has got 1 army supply, so that's not working at all. And it's got a new base going, it's got some money in the bank, and if it doesn't, it should save some money for an SCV here, I think, and that's the one. It's got SCVs here, so the question is, will IGJBot be able to find the remaining bases? And of course, this base should have been found, but yeah, the Zerglings just run by. Well, that's always very hard for a new bot. Now IGJ is going for a Spire, going for 2 more hatches, so should be okay. And yeah, when Muta finds it, and it looks like a little bit of Leaderbot. Just kill the enemy with a rush, then build raids for flying and scouting. But it looks like the Mutas, oh, and they are going to leave the... almost... No, and you can see that all the units are now converging on this base. And that's not really working, is it? It's 40 army supply congregated here. Any upgrades with Zergling speed, and that's about it. It's just a 1-base play. And at this point, it's not really building much anymore, just units and stuff. Garmbot, meanwhile, is going for... Oh, it has decided it wants to retake its main base, but of course that's impossible. And if you try that enough times, you will die. But now taking another base at the... Oh, in the middle of the map, because you've got map control, what are you worried about? So, Garmbot re-expanding all over the map, waiting for money, and teching up a little bit. So that's always interesting to see. And IGJBot is just building a lot of Zerglings. What's the army look like? 133 Zerglings, 7 Mutas. Oh, we've got 1 Lurker now for Garm. Let's see if we can find it. Oh, it's killed now, so that's unfortunate. But this is a 1-base. That's a lot of Zerglings, good heavens. And Garmbot is all over this, and this natural is being ignored once again. Only Zerglings are being built. Lots of gas in the bank. A couple of Mutas would fly over and perhaps kill it, as did the first one. And now Garm has got a Muta of its own. And how many Mutas are there for... there are only 3 Mutas for IGJBot. So if these Mutas die, it will mean that these Zerglings will all be defenseless, and that will be pretty sad. This Lurker is taking quite a toll, and as there is no Overlord here, it can be pretty dangerous. And they kill the Hydra. Oh, now finally they kill the workers as well. That's pretty well done. Garmbot is not protecting this base at all, and that's really strange. And now you can see what's happening. Garmbot is taking all the bases on the map, and IGJBot is just doing the 1 base, build as many units as you can, kind of play without scouting the enemy or reacting to scouting information you've got, because it knows this base is here. This pair of Zerglings has found this ages ago, and they kill 1 or 2 drones. Oh, they kill all the drones, actually, that's pretty good. And now the Hydra kills them. The Zerglings, that is. But Garmbot is all over this. Got 32 workers. And let's see how this is going to play out. Oh, where's the lurker? 2 lurkers here, burrowing, unburrowing, crazy as can be. Meanwhile, we've got 192, 93 Zerglings. Might touch the 200. Yeah, there we go, 200 Zerglings. So, and then you've got lots of supply to spare. We've got 100 army supply, 10 workers, and almost 200. Oh, all the mutas have been killed, so this one muta is going to kill it all. And Garmbot is just all over this, but it's really strange. And oh, this natural. Oh, it was based by Garm, I think, because I haven't seen IGJ-bot expand. This one muta is having a field day. Oh, there are 2 now. That's pretty good. These 2 lurkers here are still stuck for reasons I don't know what that's about. But Garmbot is also hitting the main base, taking the last expansion, the natural one of IGJ-bot, and going to speed it up just a tiny little notch. And there we go, Garmbot all over this with the large army supply. And this army supply, that's quite a bit of work for 1 muta and 1 guardian. That's the GG. Garmbot takes it, and that's IGJ-bot, lots of work ahead. Then we've got one of the other bots for from the University of Carlos III. It's Levitar versus Oprimo bot. Levitar, I like the name, and I don't know, how do you pronounce double L in Spanish? I really should do this live so people could chat me things like how to pronounce names of in yeah, what is it? Pronounce Chinese or Spanish names. It's really hard. Yeah, I don't know. My Spanish is just too bad for that. So we've got Oprimo playing random, this time rolled as Terran, and the Terran of Levitar is going for a lot of bio, but unfortunately its scouting is suboptimal, and although there are units going all over the place, the main army body is just mulling about here, not getting anything done. Oprimo now on 2 bases will have quite a deadly push ready, and I think that unless these Marines and Firebats are going to do something more interesting, it will be a big slaughter. Now turret, Oprimo is in an okay position, safe versus some kind of cloak. And Oprimo is going for a large army, and the same can be said for Levitar, but Levitar is at this point really messed up, walled in one of its SCVs, and I hope this one hasn't been given the order to build something against them. Oh yeah, there comes the main army, and Levitar is now facing the wrath of Oprimo. And that's the GG, so far University of Carlos III has work to do, and that is the good game, I think. Oh no, we've got a refinery here for reasons. Okay, and then I have got 2 new bots. We've got Guillermo Agita Perez, and we'll call him Guillermo because that's Agita Perez. That's not so hard. So Oyvind going for a lot of Zerglings, and it's going to be a nice row of buildings. I like that, but it's only 1 barracks, so yeah, versus a committed Zergling play, that's not going to work. And this student of the University of Carlos III is going to have to do some work as well, because that's not really how it's done. Okay, so no, we've got 2 more new... How many new bots have we got? We've got a new bot called Ekberg, Eki. I call him Eki. Ekbot. Ekberg. Egbert. I'm calling him Eggy. Egbert. Egbert is another Terran, and a Terran with a depot and a barracks. Okay, for now, this looks like it's going to be a factory, probably. And Lucas Moravec is going for the 2 gate with the ranged for the goons, and is going to be exercising a little bit of pressure. Yeah, there we go. We've got the academy, and we've got the bunker full of marines. This SCV got killed, And will Egbert will he be able to recommence construction? Or she, of course, because perhaps that's a very sexy Spanish name for a lady, Egbert. And a turret, so that's okay, sort of safe from cloak. 2 marines with a medic, that's good. And the goons of Lucas Moravec. Oh, the medic should keep up with the marines, otherwise it's going to be ugly soon. And now 3 goons. The goons just ignore the marines for a reason. And Eki is going for 2 E-bays, 1 barracks. That's 2 barracks, 2 E-bays, and another barracks. So army-wise should be okay, and it looks like it's one of the University of Carlos III bots which can actually make an army, and this army is pretty good. Now we see a handful of goons here, and the natural up for Lucas Moravec. Lucas could do with a major upgrade for the tournament, because at a point it looked like he was really making progress and then dropped off for a bit. These marines really are holding their own versus the dragoons, but the medic support is sort of lacking, and these goons will just hammer them into the ground. This SUV looks like it's trying to use it, but it can't move out because... Oh, that's good. Oh! I don't know what's in that shuttle, but it nearly died. Have we got a Reaver? No, we haven't got a Reaver. We've only got 2 shuttles with mysterious cargo. And while this blockade is going on, let's have a look at what they are doing. This one is going up to the top right. And now, oh, it's attacking. So Egbert is Eki is attacking, and that's pretty good, because if you've got a composition of bio units like this, and EC Egbert is from University of Carlos III and is now going to hammer the Terran. So this will be the first game I see that is won by a student of University of Carlos III. Natural is sort of being taken, so that's good. The entry is no longer blocked. This unfinished bunker, I suppose this is still unfinished. But army production is okay. Have we got any upgrades? We've also got upgrades. So Egbert is doing okay, taking down the natural of Lucas. And Lucas has got so much money in the bank, but is not spending it at this point. Has got a bit of a party with a lot of hot girls. Oh, and there is a Reaver. So the Reaver might still turn the tide, because all the medics are in front, and they don't, it turns out, like Reaver shots too much. This is a lot of marines though, and that's going to be a major problem. So although there isn't a medic with the marines anymore... Ooh, this Reaver is really making it work. The Zealots are tanking a lot of damage. This Reaver is now dead though, and the Nexus is gone, so that unfortunately is something that Lucas cannot recover from. If there are probes, it could sneak on out and build a base elsewhere, but it isn't really working. The natural, or the second base from Egbert is up. And sorry if I mispronounce the name of your bot. Please, my email address is here in the top left for recommendations of good games. And also all kinds of juicy information as how to pronounce Spanish words better than I do at the moment. I'm terribly sorry. But that's the first victory, I believe, unless Eki is going to get out of this and drops dead, but all the Protoss units are gone, and I think these 2 are the last buildings for Protoss. Oh, here are a couple more. Lucas has somehow stalled. It's not really working as well anymore as it could. Large bio army here, and only building 1 depot at a time. Mining is done here, nothing there. No long distance mining. The entry to the main base is blocked again. And so it's 140, 50 with, wow, only bio units. What was it again? GG! And that were the new bots. So let's get back into the tournament mode, because I also talk about the main contenders for the title. Of course, there is Crazio, there is Ironbot, there is McRae, and of course there is Big B-Reaver. B-Reaver is really having a good time versus the top Terrans, but what's very interesting, at least for me, is how Cherry Pie is going to do. In the AIDE, it was okay, it was strong, but versus the top bots it just fell apart and couldn't get anything done. They were too good. and the headlines were that Facebook with all its might couldn't take down a handful of bots developed by only one author. So that's, I think, a little bit unfair, because Facebook got into this relatively late, and with all the good people they've got working for this project, I think that it is it's not a bot to be underestimated. So that said, it's doing all kinds of learning, and it's got all kinds of intelligence going for it, and that Corsair is not really going to get anything done. Bereaver, of course, is very, very accomplished, and I think it's got a Reaver brewing now. Yep, there it is. And that's one of the strengths. So the question is, will Cherry Pie be able to deal with Reaver harass? The game is very slow, due in course partially to Bereaver sitting back, waiting for its Reaver, and Cherry Pie playing very defensively, and I don't really think that building so many Sunkens without, without any enemy showing its nose, it's very profitable. Here comes the Reaver. And the Reaver is doing okay, but the Zerg army is really on top of it. And, oh, except for here. And now the Zerg army is coming around the bend. And yeah, this Reaver is really getting work done, really tearing down Zerg, but the army composition is okay. Oh, and this Reaver's going to get caught if the Zealots don't turn around immediately and try to defend it. But there is a shuttle with Reaver here, there is a Reaver there, and Cherry Pie is having a hard time defending all this. And on top of that, there are Corsairs, but it's protecting its overlords, it's keeping them together. There are Hydras in the vicinity, they don't look... Every time a Corsair shows up here, they're trying to intercept it somehow. So it... I don't know what it is, but Cherry Pie has got some kind of an intelligent feel to it, except that it completely neglects this Reaver and shuttle at the third. Lots of work is dying. It's sending some reinforcements to deal with that, and also reinforcements to lay siege. Ooh, that was a really long Reaver shot. That was pretty well done. Bereaver. Oh, that's so lucky there. Could do with some goons, but Bereaver, you can't let it go on like this too long, because this Reaver and shuttle are still alive, killing... Oh, it could really do with Reaver speed, shuttle speed. It's got Storm now, and this shuttle is so going to be so dead, and these Hydras sort of forget that the Reaver is there, and that you can't do, but the Reaver should really be careful without any HP. And now, oh, and that's so... I think that was the Reaver's last shot. Now it goes for the Zergling. And now Zerg's got the enemy contained. There is Storm, I believe it's nearly done. Going to speed it up just a notch, but the Reaver is really ploughing into this Hydra army. Problem is that there are 3 bases for Zerg, only 2 for Protoss. The main is getting low, and Protoss is going to have to fight hard. And these Hydras, they are so responsive, and you can see the APM is 15,000. That's not overly much, but the Reavers got troubles to hit these Hydras. They are moving so quickly, they are so responsive. And this Reaver is going to be in for it. Look at how these Hydras are dodging the storms. And although there is this Reaver is really an oh, that was an ugly scarab from the Zerg's perspective. But Bereaver is really putting out the high damage unit at this point. There comes the shuttle. And Cherry Pie is not really overdoing it with expansions. It just, I think, and its description at this moment reads on the tournament page, it's only for testing, so I fear that there will be an upgrade before the main tournament starts. That's just making sure that the read-write files are okay, that the learning stuff is working. And Reaver, what damage are you doing? Good heavens. That's the third, and that may be the deciding factor. We've got meters now, and they appear to be running in straight. I would expect from Cherry Pie that they would do all sorts of crazy micro. The storm dodging is sublime, and as there are no goons, oh, there are Corsairs. and Corsairs are pretty good against Mutas. So B-Reaver is holding its own, but these unprotected, and now the Scourge as well, so Cherry Pie really making it work at this point. Let's take stock. What's here? We've got one more base. We've got 41 workers, 3 hatcheries here, handful of Sunkens there, and that's going to be a large bunch of hatcheries. And of course, one Corsair can't do too much, but B-Reaver's got the third up now. And will there be a worker transfer? Yes, there will be. But there is also a strong Zerg presence, and B-Reaver has got really big problems in dodging storms, and Cherry Pie is not afraid to use a lot of APM. We've got an Archon now, and that might be just in time, because there are going to be... Oh, and again, these Mutas really nearly untouched. Now we've got one Archon and one Corsair. This Archon should be trying to reach the enemy air units, and you can see these Mutas are elite at taking 0 damage, now burned on their tails by these Archons, but you can see, and now in a small group harassing these workers. The cannons are up, they should just be going back to work. The cannons can handle a couple of Zerglings, post a couple of Zealots on there as well, but perhaps it might be wise, but you need to fight right here and not out there where the cannons aren't covering your asses. So Cherry Pie at this point not going for any kind of fancy upgrade, just trying to do what the units got. Army count is okay, and they are running. If they see a Scarab or a Storm, they are out there so quickly, and 30k APM, so I think that is something that Cherry Pie should be careful of not to break it any further, because that is really ramping up. And all these units are being microed so intensively. Nice Scarabs going off left and right. No anti-air damage, luckily for... oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. But there is very little anti-air for B-Reaver. A couple of cannons here. The third base is finally mining. And an Archon or 2 here. But otherwise, if I see... Oh, and this Archon should be blasting in this pack of Mutas, but it's fleeing, and it's... could have taken them all out, so stacked as they were. And that is, well, it's a new reality, because I haven't really seen a bot which is so quick on... Look at how these storms are dodged, ladies and gentlemen. That is something out of this world, and these Mutas are getting low. No doubt about that. The Zerglings are taking many hits from the Reavers, but these Mutas are really on point, taking anything they can get for free, not losing too many hit points, not losing anything unless it's necessary. And B-Reaver's army is going to be pretty big, but again, a storm which doesn't even kill a single Zergling, and that is really impressive by Cherry Pie. Cherry Pie waging war on 2 fronts, and these probes are really... I can't say these cannons are okay. 1 or 2 Zealots or a Templar for Storm, and you'd be really okay there. And now the Storms are killing stuff, because the stuff has been damaged before. And with 4 Archons and a lot of Reavers, these Zerglings really can't get anything done. A couple of Goons to supplement the range. The Mutas can't get too uppity. And now it's anyone's game, really, because Cherry Pie has got a large army. He's bringing a lot of Overlords. I don't know why it's doing that. But now it's trying to overrun the Archons, and the Archons are surrounded, so they can't really take too much. And another large worker transfer. I don't know why, because there is money here and there's money there. The probes are fighting too easily, and the same you can see here, and B-Reaver's not really mining anymore. Cherry Pie at only 3 bases, of course the main is mined out. Lots of hatcheries, lots of cheap units, and really spamming the APM. But B-Reaver, because it's under so much pressure, the drones can't really mine anymore. So the supply difference is stacking up, and Cherry Pie is impressing me deeply. And that is not because it's by Facebook, because you can see how efficient it is, and for some reason it's looking really intelligent. It's microing all over the place. I really don't know what all these Overlords are doing here. But now it's trying to break this and that base simultaneously. And it's a good choice, because there are only a handful of cannons here. The SCVs are all gone. Nothing's been mining here. This cannon here should well have been placed over there. 2 Zealots, 3 Cannons, and a High Templar, and you are pretty safe from any kind of Zergling tactics. Now though, the defenses have been broken, and it's 1 versus 2 bases. This base is really insecure because it's nearly mined out, and the probes, every time they see units here, they try and help to fight. These Reavers are retreating while they should be blasting. I think they really ought to be blasting right now. Cherry Pie is taking this game in style. This base is being taken down, and this last probe is going to get killed off as well. And now the main army will be free to harass the Broken Natural. Cherry Pie, really the one to watch, and I hope, because if you can do this to be Reaver, you've got the potential to be able to do it to anyone. And of course the big Terrans can defend well with the tanks and with the vultures and with the mines, but Cherry Pie so far is already a lot more fearsome than it was during the AIDE tournament. So that's the game. No expansion plans for Cherry Pie. Army is okay. GG. Okay, so I have taken a lot of games on my pitchfork. That's a Dutch saying, having a lot of hay on your pitchfork if you've got a lot of work to do, or too much work to do. But we've all got interesting stuff to show you. And Hold Z is of course one of these bots which can. It's from the DigiPen Institute of Technology from Pennsylvania, I believe. And it's, well, let's see, I haven't seen it play much. 5 drones, lots of Zerglings, and the enemy is one of the University of Carlos 3 bots, which isn't really building anything. It's got 1,000 minerals, and it's, yeah, GG, we've got a full program, so let's not waste time on that. A game which has been played extensively over the last couple of games is Chris Cokes versus Bullybot, and either the author of Bullybot or Chris Cokes has been voting for it like mad. But if you look at the last couple of games of both players, it's about half is with versus these two versus one versus the other. So Chris Cokes of course won the AIDE and is eager to win another major title. Let's see how it's going to do so. The Hydras are staying at home. Hydras, the Zerglings, stay at home Zerglings. We've got a large contingent of Zealots, and that's of course what Bullybot is doing, just making use of this very dangerous cheap unit. Ooh, 1 gets caught, that's pretty good. And now Chris Cokes is trying to make things work, but the worker count is okay. Bullybot now 10 workers, 3 gates. Looks to be in an okay position, and Chris Cokes looks like survival mode because it's really just Zerglings and drones, nothing more, all geared towards that early conflict. And with the drones and the Zealots are so strong. And now we've got an extra hatchery and we've got a sunken coming up, but the Zealots have won it in the home defense and now making the way to the Zerg base. You can see Bullybot has made a couple of workers more, 3 gateways, just Zealots, and these Zealots have got such value for money in the early game, especially versus Zerg. And this is really ballsy at this point to start something else, and I think this is going to be a lair, but there is no army at all, so Bullybot is taking this in style, and that's so very hard to see if a threat is over or if you need to be doing something else. But Bullybot is taking it, and just the same, 3 gateways, the occasional pylon for supply, and a large army at little cost, no tech, and that is the GG, so Bullybot taking it. Oh, I forgot this one. We've got Hao Pan, and Hao Pan is, what do we know about Hao Pan? Hao Pan is based on iron. Okay, well that's good. I don't know what's based on iron. It's using the BWEM library, which is also good. And it's got a nice sort of wall off, or at least decreasing the size of the choke, and I like that. And Hao Pan, I think that's Chinese, or no, it's not Korean, presumably, or could be. More like Chinese, and China's got very good Brood War players, so that's interesting. We see the Warlord, 2 SCVs. Unfortunately, there are no fighting units. So that's not going to work. Some SCVs are coming off the line to help him defend. There is a bunker here, and there is a factory, but still no units. Oh, we've got 1 Marine somewhere. Oh, here it is. And Pineapple Cactus is going for the expansion. And after breaking the natural, these Zerglings just bugger off and run home. And now we've got 2 factories, and still, oh, 1 is producing something. Oh, 2 are producing something. That's good. And if these be vultures, they will be, with any kind of luck, equipped with the micro to deal with these Zerglings, and yep, there they go. They are virtually untouched. Now 3 vultures versus a lot of Zerglings will result in a lot of dead. Oh, and they do the iron run by, but there is another sunken, so that's good. And they come round the bend for some vulture on drone action, but unfortunately, oh yeah, and you try to make it out of there, but you're not going to do so alive. So Haupan, yeah, that's a lot of iron in there for you. It's playing vastly different though, so that's something that should be taken into account. And I really ought to cast more games of it, or watch more games of it, before I can get an insight in what it is that it's doing. With the vultures and the Goliath, it looks a lot like iron, and that's just that's saying something, because I don't know if it's iron with some added stuff or just modifications. I just don't know, and we'll have to wait and find out. And like iron, it's doing stuff with 1 base, so this tank is really doing the damage. Pineapple Cactus starting a 3rd base. Worker count is okay, and there is some kind of defense, and 1 sunken for the occasional run by, which is very good. There is a Spire, and Haupan is still on 1 base, so that's good. Science Vessel before the natural, that's pretty ballsy. And now the Mutas are out. Of course, there is a turret in the main, which is good. And the Mutas aren't really as on point as, for example, Cherry Pie's Mutas. And they're just flapping about and doing stuff. Oh, but they found the natural now, so that's good. Killing some SCVs, killing the Comsat is any kind of cheese. Oh, well, there is Lurker coming up, so that's good for Pineapple Cactus. If there is a Lurker play coming up, kill all the detection. And Haupan has got no army at all. It's not building anything, and the Mutas are doing away with Haupan as we speak. 4th base being taken by Pineapple Cactus. And of course, Pineapple Cactus is relatively new, but it's looking... it's got a lot of functionality, so if you set the switches right and if you expand a little bit on that, it might be doable to reach the mid-tier relatively quickly in the pack of bots. No, there goes the Science Vessel, that's pretty sloppy. So, all kinds of Zerg units are roaming the base, trying to catch these 2 vultures in the middle of the map. One of them is here, and the other one is there. And Haupan keeps them still, and that is very interesting. That you don't see all too much. But this game is over, because the main is torn to pieces, and we've got a large pack of Mutas. We've got 17 Mutas, 3 Lurkers, a handful of smaller units. And that's the good game. So Haupan, welcome to the show, and good luck improving. I have never ever seen anyone start with iron, so I think if that's a good starting point, because it's so very good. I don't know if it's very logical and easy to expand, but as you are making the attempt, please let us know, start a blog or send me some info on my email address here. I'd be very interested to learn more about these bots. A lot of them are documented okayly, and most of them are not documented at all, except for in the code, and that's unfortunate, because then I've only got these games to watch, and I have to deduce what's up with them by watching games, and that's sometimes very difficult, especially as there are AIE concepts involved. Ooh, and Dark Templars, that's pretty good, by Florian Rishu. The bot is also known as Aya, which is an artificial intelligence using randomness. And Florian Rishu is an assistant professor of AI ghostiness, and that's saying something. So 4 Dark Templar are really cutting all the Zerg. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, there are no overlords in sight at all. And now we've got 4 Dark Templars which have not found the enemy base yet, so they're going on a bit of a recce. And microwave on the low worker count, going for 2-3 sunkens, which might be okay, especially with the overlords overhead, as the raw DTs can be pretty difficult. And Florian Rishu going for the cannon first before starting a Nexus, and I think that's a safe choice, especially as you've just started this very cheesy opening with the Dark Templars. And the Dark Templars are, I don't know what they are, but they are a little bit confused, it seems to me. And now more units are being sent over from microwave to have a look at the cannon. And one Zerg kicks it, and now its friends are there, so they try to attack the cannon and may well tear it down, because all the units are out here doing whatever. There is one Zealot, but of course one Zealot versus Hydras is not really fair. And now there is a Goon, which isn't even firing, so that's problematic. And still the Dark Templar are here for reasons. And I think that is that shows you how little I know about these AIs, because every time I see something silly happen, like a DT opening, and then the DT start hanging around this base here, and I say to myself, well, why are they doing that? And I say, well, for reasons, and then that's my text, that's my line, and I'm done. And this Overlord isn't fleeing at all. But, oh, here come the Dark Templars, that's pretty good. And one dies. Oh, and they are now trying to attack these Sunkens. They might kill one with the Zealot, but no, there is a Spore as well. And I like that, because it has become more prevalent to use Wraiths as cloaked unit, Dark Templars, and I've also seen more air units, Shuttles, Corsairs since last year. The technological advantage of the unit use has improved markedly, and yeah, that's just going to be the game, I think, because Aya is some kind of totally confused this game. I don't know. So, GG. And then I have to talk about two outsiders. No, I don't want to look for an app in the store. I want you to play my replay, or more specifically, the replay of Killerbot versus Thomas Weider. And don't count them out for the title yet, because this is the main website with ELO ratings, and you can see Crazio, McRave, Ironbot, Microwave, Killerbot in 5th place with the last update a year ago, and that's damn impressive. And where's Thomas Weider? Thomas Weider is, well, a little bit down, but can still pack a punch. Made a showing to the finals in the last tournament, so no, not the finals, the semis, I believe it was. Can I look that up? Yeah, I can look that up. 2016, 17 finals. And what did it look like? Litterbot Ximp made it into the quarter, into the semis, where it lost to Crazio 2-0. So for a bot which has last been updated in 2013, that's 4 years ago, I think I'm allowed to say that's pretty damn impressive. Now Killerbot has, and I need to move back to here. Yeah, that was the elimination brackets result thing. Killerbot won that round robin, and oh dear, now that thing is broken, we'll have to fix that. But made a very good showing, able to take out Ximp. And of course, how is it going to do that? Not with a couple of Zerglings, just keeping tabs on the enemy, starting a very aggressive 3-base play, having of course the Hydra Den, and Ximp spending a lot of money on cannon. So although it hasn't got a large army at this point, it can defend itself pretty well, because taking down 10 cannons, even for Hydras with a couple of upgrades. Have we got any upgrades? Yeah, we've got speed, we've got range, and we've got the first weapons upgrade coming up as well. So these Hydras will be pretty dangerous. Unfortunately, a few stragglers on the outside take a little bit of fire from this cannon, and this one occasionally as well. That's the 4th base though coming up, and these Hydras, they will grow. They should have been keeping their distance a little bit, because so many are dying at this point. and I think that's Sim saving grace. Now the Hydras are coming in. The first carriers are out there as well, but you can see how fast these Hydras tear through the cannons. And now with the carriers and the last 2 cannons in the rear, Sim is just holding with the skin of its teeth. These Hydras are so good against cannons. And of course they are good against interceptors as well, but you need that critical mass. And the army supply, although it's only a handful of units, these carriers can pack quite a punch, and you need about 20 Hydras, 30, 40 preferably, to fight interceptors correctly. And now Ximp is all over this, and killing Hydras left and right. 5th base being taken though, and the 4th base being operational. There is a lot of production capacity for Hydras, no spores. But you can see these carriers really getting surrounded, the Hydras keeping their distance, and only occasionally a couple of them get lost. Army supply for Kilobot is 24, and Ximp really can't get too much done except for another group of carriers. And Ximp is losing a lot of money, make no mistakes about that, because it's got to produce a lot of interceptors, and that's a huge drain on your money. And also it's got to rebuild these cannons over here, and the cannon field is getting a little bit distorted, but Kilobot is making a lot of Hydras, and Ximp is basically making carriers and interceptors. The question is, will Kilobot be able to keep the interceptor numbers down so it can kill some carriers before the next wave of carriers is going to hit? And by the supply counts, it looked like it just might, because it was 22 earlier, it's now 28, approaching 30. The number of Hydras in this region is growing, and there are also Hydras being sent over from this base. So for the time being, Kilobot is doing okay, and still you see those carriers here. So as soon as there will be 8 carriers, that means you've got to kill more interceptors. But now the critical mass of Hydras has been reached, about 40 supply in army supply in Hydras, and these carriers, they will need to devise a plan, because they can build 4 interceptors at a time, which A is expensive, and B, if you let them attack 4 at a time, they will get absorbed instantly by this growing mass of Hydras. And it's now 46.5 army supply. These carriers are going to hit and kill the 5th base, I believe, and perhaps this one as well. So now it will all be about mobility. And the main base for Ximp is out, and Ximp is building so many interceptors, and even the entire mineral income is being spent on interceptors, and that is, well, not good. It's got to spend it on something, but that's 85 army supply, and that's mostly Hydras. And now this base is being taken down. Ximp in an okay position, but you can see how many interceptors are being produced at the time. And now the natural is wearing out too. So the question is, these 4 carriers are keeping this whole Zerg Hydra army occupied, and can Kilobot fight multiple fronts on multiple fronts at once? These workers are all thrown away, this one loose Hydra is thrown away, but that's 112 army supply in Hydras, and we're all here, 2 storms would settle them all. But now they are coming in, and you can see how quickly these interceptors just die. And the bad thing is that this base is entirely unprotected, so Ximp is taking it to pieces, which is good, but then as it approaches the main Hydra army, all the interceptors are absorbed as well. Ximp hasn't got the money, it's producing interceptors 4 or 5 at a time, but the natural's out. There is no 3rd base because it's been contained like this, and these 4 carriers have been pinned down. These 4 carriers have been pinned down as well, and these as well. So now hit points are being lost on the hulls of the carriers, and that's not good. You can see Ximp trying to eke out a couple of more interceptors, but it can't really do anything else but make interceptors. And if you've only got 1 mineral patch left, it's a foregone conclusion that you cannot win the war like this. How many interceptors have we got? We've still got 30, but where are they? And that's the big problem, because the carriers here have got interceptors, the carriers here haven't, and there are so many Hydras out and about. We've got about 140 Hydras, and Kilobot really should be thinking about taking another base, because it's so money starved as well. These carriers are doing damage, and that is no mistake about that. Ximp is out. of money. So any interceptor it's got, it cannot replace. It's got 34. There are only 3 Hydras here, but they can't really touch these interceptors, and these Hydras are all stuck over here, and this must be a bunch, about 20, 30, 40 Hydras, and these ones are all stuck as well. So unfortunately, not really working. No third being taken by Killabot, and the interceptors killing the occasional drone, I believe, and they are trying to return to the main nexus, but that's the absolute distance. But of course ground distance to the natural is much shorter, and I'm going to speed it up because you cannot see it because of the overlay, but there is a long time ahead before this game times out, and it's 145 army supply, and Killabot can't really get anything done. It's just trying to replenish the workers, but there are carriers overhead, and hopefully these this hatchery will be shot to pieces, so these carriers will either have to fight here, but Killabot is sort of stuck as well. So 2 outsiders, not... oh, I want to see how it's going to end. I'm playing this at 1024 times the speed, which is quite fast, but still there is a lot of game left. And this cannot possibly be... I think it's indicating 1,000 times the speed, but it become a total blur. And the timer is just not really fast enough at this point. So now Killabot is starting a long distance mine at the 3rd. That's good. Should be thinking of starting a 4th outside of the carrier's range. Instead it chooses to rebuild the hatchery. And now you can see the observer count is 4 down. The last 4 observers by this carrier have been taken care of. And these... oh, and now the Hydras have had enough. And they hammer down the Zerg base. And that was the GG. I've got a Spire now, but no more money for Killabot. And this is the Kronos base. So that's the GG. Killabot wins it. And I've got 2 more games. Oh god. Okay, well, let's do that again. Hello. Haha. I got the top 3. We've got Crazio, and here I chose to play Reaver. The other game will be Ironbot versus Grave. But these will be the last 2 games of today's broadcast, and Crazio versus Reaver is a very interesting matchup. It has been played a lot of times over the past couple of days, and it must have a reason. Oh, that's pretty good. The building SCV has been harassed, and that's just going to delay the natural by so much, and especially for Crazio, which is so reliant on that quick expansion. It is really a pest to have its building SCV killed and the other one chased away. So Reaver, almost a Royal Roader last time, and let me have a quick gander at what its place was eventually last year. Where is Reaver? It lost to Ximp just barely. It took a game of Ximp, and that's a hard thing to do as a Protoss. So there was a little bit of talk about Reaver being a Royal Roader, taking the tournament first time upon entry. Hasn't really made it, and now Crazio's got the first Vulture out, so the scouting SCV is pestered away, and now Reaver is coming in with some... oh, that's a tank on the high ground. That's pretty good, Crazio. Well done. Must be new. But Reaver, of course, has got this excellent Reaver use, which is a genuine pest for anyone encountering it. Crazio playing it rather safe with a tank on the high ground and tanks on the low ground, and a small mech army on the low ground as well. Mulling about a little bit much, but that's okay. Turret-wise, Crazio is in an okay position, but this part of the base is covered. And... ooh, now you really need to bring a tank to deal with that, and that's okay. Earlier, Crazio would have a gap of turrets, so shuttles could make their way into the main much easier. Isn't so anymore, but now there is a large gateway army outside of Crazio's gate, and I think it will be about who gets up the 3rd the quickest, because Crazio really is a defensive player, and versus an aggressive bot with Reaver shuttle harass, and now with High Templars as well, That's the third base for B-Reaver. And that can snowball into a big problem for Crazio, because 2 versus 3 base or later 4 base is going to be a major pain. And now B-Reaver with the expansive units and also with the Zealots doing a lot of damage. Crazio with the bunker, with a couple of tanks, but there are Zealots among the tanks already, and the SCVs can't really repair it quick enough. And Crazio, by the skin of its teeth, holds 25 versus 16 army supply. B-Reaver isn't one to pull back, to pull out, just go straight for the heart, and that Crazio's got the third out, and that's something that B-Reaver should nip in the bud. And B-Reaver could be doing something more with the shuttle and a Reaver, of course. Third base operational, 2-3 cannons for defense, so no occasional vulture can wipe out half the probes. And there you go, got the game afoot. Crazio now on the roll with the big economy, he's got the bigger army supply, but still will have to wait to make a big push, because there is a danger of shuttles with Reavers, and of course there is Storm. So what's B-Reaver doing? B-Reaver is going for a large scale in the middle of the map, melee with Zealots, with Dragoons. And where is that shuttle going? Where is the shuttle? I saw the shuttle earlier. I think, no, that's a Corsair. The shuttle has been brought back to base, and Crazio with the mech units is now in a position to take position on the map, because this bridge is hard to take with 2 siege tanks on the other end and these 2 floating buildings. So these tanks can range up to here, and then you've got to make your way through with Zealots, with Storm, with anything, and you get so much fire on you. And now B-Reaver, sweeping round the back with the Reaver, with the Goons, with the Storm, and that is just how quickly a third base can be reduced to ruins if you let McRave get away with it. And now Crazio will have to take it, and it's defending here, but the third, which needs defending, is over there. And this Shuttle Reaver is doing a humongous lot of damage to the Vultures. And there is even an Arbiter now, so McRave in an okay position at this point. This Goon, of course, can't really do much, and this Wraith is on the tail of this shuttle, so yeah, that should be... And this shuttle keeps coming back, although there is a Wraith there. That's really... could be improved upon, but then again, they are AIs. The battle here has been lost for Crazio, because as he pulled his troops back to protect the third, the fourth was overrun, and B-Reaver's got a large army and should be, tears down the command center. And there it goes, and the floating buildings of Crazio's only barely make it. And there you go, lots of blue soup, but in the end it doesn't really work, it doesn't matter. And Crazio is being pushed back, and that's quite impressive. Army supply is okay, the third is still alive. That's damn impressive. And there you go, B-Reaver has got 2 shuttles with Reavers and is really bringing the fight to Crazio. Crazio trying to eke out a base here, that's good. B-Reaver has started and completed the 4th over there. Main, of course, has mined out. There is 4 minerals left in each of these patches, but B-Reaver doesn't think it's worth its while to mine them. Crazio with the large production and the science vessels overhead is trying to make it work. There is so much pressure, but the tanks are really hurting these gateway units, and even the Reavers, and an EMP on the High Templar. And this really, even if B-Reaver doesn't get an upgrade, don't count him out, because we will have this round robin phase, and then the best bots will make it into the double elimination bracket. And if B-Reaver enters there, you can bet a couple of bitcoins on him going pretty far, because it's such a monster. And Crazio trying to lock things down, taking another base. This base has been lost, the natural is out, the third base is relatively okay, but Crazio has got a long way from its factories to the top right corner. And the middle of the map, by mobility means, is in the moment under control of B-Reavers. Now, B-Reaver is all over this. It hasn't really got the damages, focusing on the refinery instead of on the command center. It should be tearing this down, and it's doing so now, and now should be moving up the ramp, or perhaps, yeah, there it goes. No, it's just fleeing. That's unfortunate, but Crazy only got away with taking one base, and that is okay. This mine is a problem, and I suspect that B-Reaver hasn't really got a good way to reliably deal with that. And now B-Reaver's got one... Oh, this base hasn't got any probes working. Some probes are being transferred now. 1, 2, 3 bases versus the 1, 2 bases for Crazio. And of course Crazio's in a good position being the Terran with the tanks, but we can see how well B-Reaver can deal with that. The problem is, if you let Crazio set up shop, the critical mass of tanks becomes too great, and with 4 science vessels, that's a lot of EMPs, our radiates on High Templars, and even with the perfect shuttle micro and the High Templar storms, you're going to have your work cut out for you to break that. You can see the constant sieging, unsieging Crazio, trying to feel when it will be safe to do something about this Protoss mass in the middle of the map. But for now, the tank seems to have things well under control. B-Reaver losing a lot of Reavers, and that's unfortunate. It's namesake unit. But this... Oh, I totally missed that. Sorry, there is so much going on. There is... Oh, no, it's observers. The third of Crazio is being hammered into the ground, and B-Reaver should really focus on also demolishing that command center, because if the command center lives, Crazio can retake it and with relatively modest means reactivate the mining operations. But now this base is under attack. There are no fighting units, and B-Reaver is at it with a shuttle in a Reaver. The main army is being sent back to the natural choke of Crazio. Crazio's got a good army. Lots of tanks, lots of Goliaths, Ghosts as well for lockdown. And of course the stasis on the science vessels. Hello, this game is absolutely out of control. How much energy have you got on these arbiters? Of course they are in danger of being EMP'd. I think these science vessels won't gather energy while they're being stasis. This army of Crazio's okay. The big problem is that Crazio's out of money, and this is the last base with only 1 tank. Ooh, if even that. And this shuttle Reaver is really tearing it down methodically. This turret is gone, and now there are 2 shuttle Reavers. And... oh, that's pretty well done. Dropped at the feet of this tank. 2 zealots taking the tank down. And oh, there is 1 more tank, but it's under attack as well. And oh, the last shot takes down the Reaver. And that might just be the saving grace. Perhaps these SCVs can fend off the 2 zealots, but it's going to be a bloody mess. And in the middle of the map, Crazio is holding its supply. It's 70 versus 75 army supply. The problem is B-Reaver is not even mining as hard anymore as it was. But Crazio needs this base, because this one is under attack, and Crazio somehow brought it back from the dead. And B-Reaver is now swarming with units, workers being transferred to and fro, and make no mistake, B-Reaver is spending units at an alarming rate. It's almost like in playing Zerg, just throwing away units to gain small advantages. That's very hard to deal with. But this supply difference, a lot of it is in workers, and in these later stages, the workers aren't as important anymore. What's in there? Oh, it's just 1 zealot. But the arbiters are there as well, and the High Templar as well. The SUVs are being evacuated, but this base is still not mining. And if this base is not mining, Crazio's only... oh, not even on 1 base, but B-Reaver is all over the map. It's taking down 2 bases at the same time. Crazio is scrambling to defend, but there is a stasis Goliath on the bridge, so the big units can't really make it up there. And these arbiters, the only thing that really could be improved upon in this situation is that you tear down this command center record speed. But B-Reaver taking its time. There goes the 4th, and the 3rd is under attack, but now the stasis has worn off. Crazio is bringing it back with a small mech contingent, but by now the army supply of B-Reaver is maxed. It's got a lot of money in the bank. It's 33 versus 100 army supply, or almost 100, and this Reaver is still there. The arbiters are still there. There is a lot of stuff stasis. This base is not mining, and Crazio, meanwhile, every single unit it loses, although it kills 10 of B-Reaver's units, it's lost, it cannot be replenished, and this position has been taken. The 3rd has been compromised, or demolished, I should say. B-Reaver is taking 1 more base. It is still about maxed, and there is just such a deadly cocktail of high-tech, high damage units, and with this economy and the use Reaver makes of it, taking down the #1 bot of this moment. There is about 200-300 ELO difference between these two players, and that is because Crazio can utterly shut down any other player. And it's good to see that even Crazio has got some weaknesses versus TSCMU Terran, TSCMU Protoss, Reaver, Iron occasionally. McRave on a good day can take a game with a little bit of luck, and Reaver as well. What a monster. So let's say GG and hop into the last game of tonight's broadcast, which will be Ironbot versus McRave. McRave, nothing needs to be said about McRave. McRave is a monster, first-class monster officially, and Ironbot is also a first-class monster. Haven't been dethroned from second place by McRave, and that was really McRave in a direct battle, because McRave can, or could for a time, reliably beat down Iron, and not Crazio, so that's McRave's challenge. Iron has received some attention as well, and in trying to be able to kill Crazio, McRave has become, I feel, a little bit more susceptible to Iron's play, and Iron, it doesn't really count, it doesn't do to underestimate big players like Iron. Same goes for TSCMU, you never know what he can pull out of his hat, and Igor Dimitrievich, the author of Iron, has been working hard on his own work, but still, if he will find a couple of days to make some improvements, he has come so far already. Now building the command center on the high ground like Vitapop does, with the tank on the high ground as well, in a safe position now with 2 tanks floating down the command center, and McRave is still in an okay position. He's got a lot of workers, got 2 bases, got some goons with range, being able to contest the vultures and SCVs of Irons in the middle of the map. They will run everywhere, but for the time being, Iron is a little bit wobbly because this wall is good. The tank on the high ground is good as well, but the defense of the natural is just not there at the moment, and these Terran bots ought to build to block off one of these pathways with a couple of depots or any kind of building you might need, factory and a depot, I don't know. Keep the other one open, and if you shut this one off, a couple of tanks behind that, they are protected from ground attacks by this cliff. And then the tanks on the high ground can shell this bridge with impunity, and then you are in for a large, long game with hard fights to take defensive positions like that. And that's really the direction the game is going at this moment, because the ground army conflicts have been, I feel, a little bit exhausted. It's all about the combinations, like we saw Reaver do versus Crazio earlier. Air and ground, reconnaissance, harassment, it's all over the place. And Iron now is losing control of the middle of the map, but it's still got the tank army, which is growing in size. Now with 2 factories, and if McRave can't do anything about that, well, it can't take down the eBay, because the tanks are a little bit too far in the rear. But the vultures can't clear these goons. But every time a goon sticks in its snout or one of its legs too far into these jaws of death, they will get a volley of tank shots, and they do not like it. They don't like it, as is said by Great Man. So McRave, for the time being... Oh, there's a third. I was just going to comment on it not really being as aggressive as Macro. Iron now moving up the tanks, and even with a little bit of repair and some tanks lost, you can see how quickly and decisively it can push these goons back. So as soon as the tanks start increasing in number, as a Protoss you really need to be doing something else, because tanks and SCVs can just make life for Dragoons so very hard. And these zealots are not going to cut it any longer, and even these goons, they need to be escorted by observers, otherwise they're going to run into mines. And this middle stage of the game is going to be a little bit messy, because there are goons and zealots and tanks and SCVs and vultures running all over the map. And this is a small top versus bottom straight up map, so it's not really as hard to cast. And these tanks of Iron are really being targeted! Ooh, and that goon just snuffs it her hands with the mines. And you can see the advantages Terran has got with the mines, with the siege tanks to assert map control, take a third. And McRave really has to work hard to take a third or a fourth. And this mess in the middle of the map is going to go on for a little while. But a lot of workers are being lost, and Ironbot really its army supply is suffering because it needs to produce so many workers, and the vultures of course are there. Occasionally a couple of vultures make a run by, plant some mines, and you can almost count on it on some goons getting lost. These 4 goons being cut down by a lot of vultures, and immediately as reinforcements arrive they beat it out of there. And McRave is struggling with the observers to clear the mines, and now the tanks are growing in numbers. They're going to push towards McRave, and McRave will be in a hard spot because once you are contained by tanks and vultures, it's a hell of a job to break out. And now it's trying, and that may be one of the reasons why McRave is fighting so hard and throwing away so many units, because it knows if it gets contained, or the author knows, that if the bot gets contained, that it is much more costly to break out of it than just to waste 10s and 20s of units to stop the contain. But you can see where it's going wrong. The turrets, the mines and the tanks and the SUVs for repair. And as Iron, it's struggling to keep up the army, and the High Templar are too far in the rear. The storms are okay, but this is the problem. Oh, and that is a very good storm, but you need to have those storms and dragoons and zealots in tandem with a little bit of air support, with perhaps a shuttle dropping some tanks. Oh, and that's a nice touch. Iron now having broken out of its cage, taking a 4th base. 3rd base of McRave is unthreatened. The main base is mining out though. High Templars are far away back in the rear, not being able to bring much to bear. Another base has been taken while I was not paying attention. Even on a small map like this, it's really hard to keep up with the action if you play at double the speed. But Iron is growing, and Iron's got a small army, but it's all here, and it's got turrets as well, it's got SCVs, and the SCVs are also here. And now McRave is... all the tanks are in siege. McRave is making something work, but Iron just veering back. And with the reinforcements soaking up the aggression by McRave. Oh, that was a lucky mine hit. And immediately 3 SCVs plugging the holes in this tank. And the tank is as good as new. And that is so good by Iron. It's really revolutionized the way Terran has been played with these SCVs. The cover, at times a little bit shaky. That was an unfortunate stasis because that group of tanks was about to be killed. But Iron now is slowly increasing in army size, and McRave is fighting hard in the middle of the map, so it's still anyone's game at this point. This goon is doing well. This vulture thing is so quick, so fast that the SUVs have a double of the time to keep up with the repairs of these vultures. And again, tanks are being lost at the cost of some goons, so it's really hard to say who's going to come out on top. I would say Iron, because Iron's got 3 bases, McRave's got 3 bases. McRave's naturals started sooner, and you can now also see that the supply is going to tilt in favor of Iron. That's a nice storm though. Another good storm, lots of damage. Oh, that is beautiful by McRave. But the follow-up is a little bit shaky because the stasis is on units which are low in HP and could have been killed by the zealots. But McRave, on the back of these storms, is pushing it back. Still, Iron is gaining in army supply, and Iron is approaching max, while McRave is suffering with only 29 workers. And some of them here, some of them... Oh, no workers here. What's that? That's unfortunate. Must have been evacuated. And good storms going off, but 20 army supply from McRave. And Iron still... I'm not going to count Iron out for the #1 position, even though Crazio is so very dominant. And although Crazio lost the game versus Geneva, Crazio is the undisputed #1 bot at this moment. But for the 2nd place, without counting Cherry Pie and what AI Ghost on his Facebook and their guys have got up their sleeves, the 3rd and 2nd place are so close at this moment, and I hope that we get to see these 2 bots play in the finals or in the semi-finals and the quarterfinals, because they can bring so many good games, have brought so many good games, and they are so evenly matched, and they're really pushing each other very hard. And that is the beautiful thing about a competition like this one, where you have this visual representation of the competition, of what your bots are actually doing, and it stimulates the coders and the planners of these bots so much to keep improving. The number of upgrades we are seeing these last couple of weeks are insane, and that is really what it's all about. And I think that this tournament is a beautiful beautiful instrument in promoting competition and pushing Brood Boy I really do. So I'm honored to be able to cast these games. I'm not guaranteeing it, will be back with a final update before the round robin of the tournament starts. Deadline 20th of December. I should have said that a couple of times again. 20th of December is the deadline for submissions for updates. So make sure your bot is on the server and functioning properly. And then I wish you all the best of luck in the tournament, to all the competitors and to all your viewers. It will be a good couple of weeks, perhaps months, before we have reached the finals. There is no definite time plan yet, but it is a beautiful game, and this tournament is looking like it's going to be the most beautiful yet. So for this time I say thank you for watching, thank you for joining us again, and well, I believe Iron will soon crush this base while the tanks run over slowly. Thank you for watching. Do please support us on Patreon. We've got 7 followers now, and hopefully we'll be able to support the tournament through here. Michael has been financing a lot of it out of his own pocket, which is, for the time it's been running, it's well, it's a hobby, so it costs something, but you would be really helping us out by supporting us financially as well. Otherwise, spread the word on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, on anywhere. Tell your friends, tell your mothers, and be all sure to tune in for next week's broadcast, which will be about the round robin phase of the Student StarCraft AI Tournament 2017 finals. For this week I say thank you for watching and listening again. Hope you have a good week and good Christmas days, and see you again next time. Goodbye.